I want to close up Department of Education. So stupid. Stupid face, stupid people, such stupid things. We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel since this whole scam started. Think of it, a new branch of the United States military, United States Armed Forces, called Air Force. I never talked about that. Of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
The Harris-Walz campaign is riding such a wave of enthusiasm and positivity, they're even tossing out videos of a confused Donald Trump to drive the point home that he's frustrated and confused.
You know, the biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? And what we saw at Pleasure, what a name right now. But what we just saw, we just left Pleasure. One of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, because of lots of things, like Nikki Haley, we would be in World War II.
Yeah, it's crazy how we've gone from the Trump camp's only argument of Biden being too confused to lead to the Harris campaign doing the same against Trump. And this comes after Trump vowed to be nice.
When you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay?
But the MAGA ticket is so discombobulated by Kamala Harris, even his criticisms are beginning to sound complimentary.
She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
Not only did he call her magazine cover beautiful, but he also called her Camilla for some reason. And I wonder how Melania feels about Donald checking out the vice president's picture and comparing it to her. Probably not as bad as she does about his feelings towards another anti-Trump figure.
What do you think about Taylor Swift? One of the most famous people right now.
Yeah, I think she's beautiful, very beautiful. I find her very beautiful. I think she's liberal. She probably doesn't like Trump, but I hear she's very talented. But I think she's very beautiful, actually. Unusually beautiful.
I think she's beautiful. I mean, she's liberal and talented, but she's beautiful. Come on, bro, reel it in just a little bit. Since his uncontrollably pervy thoughts about Taylor Swift is all that he can come up with, he's missing the fact that young voters are mobilizing at a rate that could be devastating to his campaign, whether these young folks are beautiful or not.
Gen Z is reportedly now energized like never before, wanting to be a part of the voting process. Young voters flocking to Harris on this specifically, at least according to a Vote.org spokesperson. They're on record saying this: more than 230,000 voters had registered to vote through Vote.org since Biden announced July 21st that he would step down. Of that figure, 18% were 18-year-olds. And 81% between the ages of 18 to 34 years old. So with this number here, and you could see obviously the drive there, Charles. You're now seeing a lot of movement here with Kamala's campaign, Kamala Harris, the vice president, moving to get this critical vote.
Let's stop for a second and recognize the fact that the Republican Party's worst nightmare is a huge influx of new voters, younger Americans that are more interested in participating in elections. An entire party that claims to represent Americans is panicked that more Americans are mobilizing and getting involved. That's simply an admission that they know that they don't represent the vast number of citizens. And by the way, neither did Joe Biden. So now Republicans are stuck with a grouchy guy that just can't stop with personal attacks on the candidate that these new voters seem to be supporting.
Do you think that this campaign is floundering on that point?
I want this campaign to win. But the campaign is not going to win talking about crowd sizes. It's not going to win talking about what race Kamala Harris is. It's not going to win talking about whether she's dumb. It's not. You can't win on those things. The American people are smart. Treat them like they're smart.
He can't treat Americans like they're smart if he has zero respect for them. Nikki Haley worked with him for years and is somehow surprised that that he's got nothing when it comes to actual human relationships. And he's not going to just listen to her, just like he didn't listen to every other ally and multiple conservative pundits. To him, she's just another Republican that he beat into submission, which is all that he cares about.
President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity. It was a gracious invitation, and I was happy to accept. I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
It doesn't appear to be working out all that well for her anymore. It's looking like Trump's energy and angry campaign approach that worked before has consumed his entire movement, but has suddenly become a negative force.
Vibes do matter right now. I mean, and that might not be enough to carry one side or the other until Election Day. But right now, it is a stark difference, Gene Robinson, where we're seeing footage night after night of the vice president and her running mate having these raucous, joyful rallies. People are laughing. People are smiling. They're dancing to Beyonce before she takes the stage. Trump, on the other hand, is this. It was a 2 hours. I mean, he was a little more controlled in his rhetoric last night than he has been on the rally stage. At times, he seemed to sort of slur his words a little bit. But he, you could see here, there with the portrait behind him. But he painted a very dark, dystopic picture of America.
These are bad signs all the way around. Even conservative media outlets are pointing out the energy shift that really no one would be proud to be a part of. And in a race that's so clearly divided between diehard Trump supporters and diehard Harris supporters, the limited number of undecided voters are the ones up for grabs. So relatability and appeal are even more important.
On the conversation tonight that we'll be doing in the Zoom rally with Republicans for Harris, you'll have people that were part of that coalition, that were Republicans for Nikki Haley. Look, those cheers in that crowd when the mayor said that about John McCain, that tells me that there is a broad coalition there, right? Because that is who we identify when we're moderate conservatives. We want leaders like that. And I think Donald Trump is the antithesis to that. And so I think, I think there is opportunity here to reach those moderate voters. I think it'll happen. And I always remind people, look, to the women out there, to the other spouses out there, your MAGA spouse doesn't need to know what you're doing in that voting booth, right? Yeah. So your vote is private. It's personal. I know that people are scared about, what will my friends and family think, or they'll judge me, or my neighbors will judge me if I'm voting for a Democrat because I'm a die-in-the-wool Republican. That's fair. But at the end of the day, vote your conscience, your integrity, and vote for a better future for the Republican Party.
That point by former VP Mike Pence's advisor about Republicans voting for Harris in order for them to take back their Republican Party is one that might be getting overlooked. We know there are several anti-Trump groups that are made up of Republicans when Trump won back in 2016. But now that he's returned with even more authoritarian energy, we might be missing the number of Republicans voting against him that aren't announcing it. But Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are noticing, and they're reaching out to them too.
It's your neighbors, it's our friends that have been in this. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Trump, Vance, and this group that's around them. Because some of you in here with no or gray hair like me can remember when Republicans actually stood for and talked about freedom. We know they're there. We know those are our relatives. But it turns out that this guy means that freedom should be for the freedom of government to go into your exam room and tell you about your choices. I might not agree with my neighbor's choices or make the same one. But this country's great because we have a golden rule that makes things work. We mind our own damn business on those things. We mind our own damn business. Why would you think I need your advice to tell me what books I can and cannot read, or when to have a family, or how to have a family, or what religion to worship, or how to organize?